We have Axel Brave just joined us. So hi, Axel. Oh, you're in mute.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Yeah. So I interrupted André, but André was just talking about being vulnerable, being humble, and he was giving some examples of some CEOs that they were worried that if they show some vulnerability, that they don't know everything. That in the case of one woman in particular, or men or women, doesn't matter, but she was saying that if she showed vulnerability, that the other engineers would eat her alive, type of thing. And Axel is my nephew. He graduated a 2 or 3 years from a university in Texas, and he started his own business. You know, he started very young. I keep telling him it's not common for young people to start their own business in their mid-20s, and then he's dealing with getting customers, selling. He sells chimichurri, by the way. So he's inspired by his father, my brother-in-law, who is an amazing chef, and he does amazing barbecues, Argentinian barbecues. So he loves to cook, and we're going to ask him a little bit about him. But I felt like this opportunity to invite you, André, with your vast experience of being in board members and Rotary Club, and now you're a speaker for CEOs, to also invite Axel, who is learning very fast, but he's also having challenges in cash flow and things like that, and building his team. So Axel, thanks for coming in. And by the way, André, I think how much longer do you have? I know
25 more minutes. I have till 10:30.
Well, it's 11:10 right now, right?
Until 11:30, yes.
Yeah, 11:30. Okay, so just we can talk. Axel, you can stay a little bit longer once André leaves. But if you want to take advantage that André charges a lot of money.
I want to quickly ask Axel a couple of questions.
There you go. Perfect.
My best friend from Argentina, his name was Axel also, and he came from German abstraction. What is yours?
My background?
Yeah, I mean, is it what ethnic?
Yeah, well, first off, your friend must have been really cool because he has a very cool name. Second, my family comes from Buenos Aires.
But are they German descent or?
No, Italian, Spanish descents, and some French.
The other quick thing is you sell your chimichurri as a dry mix, or you sell it as a sauce?
As a sauce. So I've started making chimichurri when I was 10. That was kind of my chore growing up, and my whole life, everyone was like, "Oh, you should sell this. You should sell this." And I didn't want to be the sauce guy, but when I closed my first restaurant in Austin and moved back to Houston, I had a little taste of entrepreneurship and realized I couldn't do anything else. So I looked at my hands and was like, "What can I make?"
The reason I asked is my wife decided she was going to wholesale chimichurri, and so she came out with a design. She called her company the Sauce Gaucho. And but she was selling it as a dry mix, and then you add so much oil and so much whatever, so forth.
Yeah, that's what I think the majority of chimichurris in the market today, the 6 that are out there, most of them are dry mixes.
So in 10 words, are you already in supermarkets and in do wholesalers take your brand, or are you just going from farmers market to farmers market?
So I started with farmers market, but we're in over 400 stores now. We're in Whole Foods, H-E-B, Specs, Williams-Sonoma, Central Market. So we did a lot of that up front, and now we're focusing on online direct-to-consumer sales.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. What is the name of the company?
Axel. It's so I can practice the spelling of my name every day. It's Axel Provisions. So if you go to axelprovisions.com, that's our website, and then obviously all our social media and all our YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff.
Great. Congratulations. Yeah. Very impressed. Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go on. I wanted to get those out of the questions.
Uh-huh.
Well, Andre, actually, when you talk to CEOs, Axel is a CEO now. And what, well, actually, you go ahead. Either Andre, you can ask the question, or Axel, if you have any specific questions, or you want to talk about what are your major couple of challenges that you're facing now after, how long have you had your business? How many people do you have? What are your major challenges, for example?
What are my
ahead,
major
Axel.
challenges? Yeah, major challenges is I'm learning as I go, which is kind of the way my brain works. So it's a good challenge to have. The main challenge I'm taking on at the moment is raising our pre-seed round, or our initial round of investment funding, capital funding, to kind of accelerate growth and kind of take over the online marketplace. So I've been learning about raising money, talking to investors, what type of convertible notes to raise on, valuations, projections. So a bunch of stuff that I learned very little about in college, I have to relearn. So I've talked to countless people, watched 1,000 YouTube videos, and it's funny to, I'm learning, or I'm remembering that all the information is already out there. It's a matter of being resourceful and finding it. So that's kind of, people think of the word a challenge, and they take a negative connotation to it, but it's really like, it's a good challenge to have, right? Because I'm learning all this stuff and it's getting my company to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not an obstacle, it's a challenge, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
By the way, you got great radio voice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
used
it from
to
his
have
angle.
I used to have my own podcast actually 2 years ago. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I like being in front of the camera and speaking. We don't need a camera or a microphone. I just like to talk.
Yeah.
I love telling
So
stories
what
and
are
hearing stories.
So are you getting, you had growth and now you've plateaued, and you try to see how you take it to the next level, or?
Yeah, well, we haven't plateaued. We're still doubling every year, but the industry and the market is getting so competitive. People are saying that CPG, my industry, consumer packaged goods, really consumer packaged foods, is the next tech. So there's millions and millions of dollars being thrown around in investment pools for this kind of stuff. So companies are starting off really strong, creating a niche, building a new product, and then taking a piece of the pie. And within like 12 months, a venture capital firm takes them up and they kind of explode, and they go from 300,000 to 3 million to 10 million to whatever. So you can't really do that with the industry playbook that everyone's giving out. You can't do that without raising capital, which is another challenge I had to it's the same challenge I'm facing now, but it's something I had to accept. And the more conversations I had, even on my podcast, the more I realized that without this capital funding, bootstrapping this whole thing would add 15 years extra to the whole process.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So our issue now is that we
that's so young. I mean, really, I don't mean to be like ageist or something, but like, I'm sort of like envious, because it's, building that team and all that is like, these are lessons I'm getting now. I'm like 300 times your age. So like, how have you had this foresight like so early on?
It's the way my brain is built. And so I think, and that's not a brag, that's like this is my disability. I need to, I love working with teams, but I like leading them, and I like having the creative control of, let's see what happens if we go this direction, or why don't we try this out. And I work at a fast speed, and it's funny because growing up I always thought, I want to do something big, but I'm going to be the second person in charge, the person behind the curtains, because I think there was some vulnerability issue there where I was like, well, if things go wrong, I don't want to be the guy, the face of the problem. But after I started my restaurant with my friend at 21, I was like, oh, this is way more fitting for me than what I thought. And yeah, there's a lot of pluses to like starting your own company, and that's kind of where I fell
there's
into.
a big transition, you know, because when you make your chimichurri sauce, you're a creator, and it's fun, and it's experimenting, and so forth. Saying, okay, so what is the shelf life, and all of that creative part of creating the label and creating something that is not too spicy but spicy enough, blah blah blah. But now you've moved away from that, and now you're an administrator. And
and I'm trying to go back to the creative part, which is like one of the reasons I want a team. I think I told Mariano this the other day, but I feel like I go into a 12-person office and all 12 employees aren't there, but the phones are ringing, the fax machine's going, like the email needs to be sent, and I'm running around doing everything at like 50% instead of what I like doing at 100.
Yeah, can I just, because I'm conscientious of Andre's time, and I really want take advantage. Axel can stay with us a little bit longer, and I have some thoughts about what Axel's doing, because Leo and we're all going through that as starting new businesses. But with André, there's these quality of CEOs or business owners that some just are able to take off. Some of it is luck, and it is preparation and research and all that. But I like, André, how you talk about curiosity, about the art of listening, about vulnerability.
Yep.
So, because sometimes,
sorry, really quick, before you jump back on when your internet went out, he was talking about when he first became the general manager at a hotel, the manager, do you want to share what he said? Because I thought that was a very poignant piece of advice, if you want to repeat that.
Remind me what it was.
You said you don't have to know everything.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they just know what question to ask.
No questions to ask.
And not to be such a control, like at some point you have to be able to be trusting. You have to trust, you have to train them, you have to find the right people, but you have to trust that you don't have to micromanage in everything, right?
Okay,
because
but
then go ahead.
If I might, then I want to say a couple of things that, again, they're in my presentation, but I think it's very important for Axel. And this is going to sound, again, very Pollyanna-ish, okay, whatever, but I truly believe that as CEO, you work for your people. Do you agree with that statement, Axel?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
And here's why, because I believe it is your job to build the road that your team is going to travel on. Think about that, right? It's your job to build the road they're going to travel on. So if you give them poor equipment, if you don't have the money, if you don't have the training, if you're whatever, then they're going to have a bumpy ride. And the bumpier the ride is for them, then the more you have to go and get involved in today. So that's why I say that the higher you are in the organizational chart, the more you work on tomorrow. All right. So I worked in hotels, and my front desk clerk, my waiter, works 100% for today, right? It's today, checking in, serving hamburger. Okay, 100% today. But the supervisor is working 80% today and 20% tomorrow. They might have to do a schedule. They might have to requisition catch up. Okay. And, but if they fail to do that, if they fail to requisition the catch up, now the wait staff is going to have a bumpy ride. So can that waiter, waitress hold the supervisor accountable and say, hey, Buster, you were supposed to get me catch up and you didn't. Okay, I need it by today. All right, because it's affecting my tips and it's affecting the guest experience. Okay, so, but the higher you are in the organizational chart, the more you work on tomorrow. So you as CEO, your job is not to go and handle the fax, not to handle the telephone, because now you're working in the business instead of working for your business. Your job, and I had this guy that came and did a retreat, a board retreat for a board that I was on. And he told us something brilliant. He says, when you drive a car, Okay. You spend 95% of the time looking through the windshield. You might have a navigation system with a destination in mind, but you're looking, oh, what does that sign say? Oh, there's an exit here. What is the child going to do, right? You're looking down the road. And 5% of the time, you're on the dashboard in the rear view mirror. The problem is that as CEOs and as board members and as people in charge, we tend to go and fall back into metrics, into the dashboard, into history, into the rear view mirror. And that is not your job, okay? Your job is through the windshield, down the road, anticipating, preparing, and creating the road for your team to work on. And the better job you do of doing that, then the next level is perfecting the road that you're building, and so on and so forth down the line, so that everybody has a smooth ride, so that you are not answering the fax machine, that you're not hanging these ringing telephones. And it's hard. It's a long process of building that trust and that ethic, that work ethic in your team. But you owe it to your team to go in when you do their annual review, to tell them, I've got 3 principles. Number 1, when I do your review, I want you to self-evaluate. Tell me from your perspective in a paragraph or 2 or 3, what were your victories this year? What do you need to work on to improve? And you need to truly be brutally honest, okay? Then we're going to discuss that, okay? But when we're done, it's going to be your turn to tell me, what do I need to do differently to help you better do your job? That is that humility. That is that comes in, that is so important for the team to operate. You need to learn how to work with each one of your team members, and you need to make yourself vulnerable enough for them to critique you and to say, you know what, I need more of this, I need less of that.
No, I completely agree with you. Yeah, that's kind of what, as I start to build out a bigger internal team, because most of my team is external, right? My manufacturers are external, my warehouse, my logistics is external, my marketing is all external. So as I start bringing people in-house, that's something I need to keep in mind, working for those guys and making sure they have everything they need to do 110%. So then my vision is attainable.
Yeah.
Have you, André, have you seen like patterns of people that are more successful and others who are not as successful? Have you seen like
Yes.
patterns? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I think, I don't care how curious you are. Curiosity only gets you to ask questions, but nothing has happened yet. The word that is married to curiosity is initiative. So successful people take initiative. My son is an electrician, and in his first year of his apprenticeship, when his foreman was doing his annual review, told him, says, Evan, you do good work, but you show no initiative. And until you show initiative, you're never going to grow. And to me, that was a slap in the face when he told me the story, because I did hundreds of reviews of direct reports, and I never used that word. And I think that initiative should be one of the pillars of your organization, where you don't tell people, I allow you to take initiative. The word is, I expect you to take initiative. Okay. And so when you interview people, find ways to find out, are they the kind of people that want to be told what to do, or are they the kind of people that want to be left alone? That, you know, tell me where you want to go, tell me what you want from me, and get out of my way. And I think that is the mold, if you want, of the more successful person. I'm oversimplifying it. There's so many other characteristics, right?
Yeah, but that's a good one for sure. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. And so initiative is, but initiative paired with humility. And what I like to say, think about this. 10 words. Each word is 2 letters. When you put them together, they form the most powerful sentence in the universe. What is that sentence?
Each word is 2 letters.
Each word is 2 letters. If it is to be, it is up to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Now
That would have
think
taken me a
about
little while
this.
to guess.
But
Yeah.
yes, but think about it. What if culturally in your organization, okay, whether it's your house or your office, but everybody embraced culturally, it's a process of getting, you can't just go and print the banner and say, this is us. If it is to be, it is up to me, and expect to take. No, you have to build towards that, where people truly understand that you reward initiative, that you dismiss complacency. You want people to take risks. You want people to get outside of their comfort zone and try something new. Now, you're going to say, but André, so to me, the definition of quality is a product or service that consistently meets a standard. Whatever it is, whether you're teaching English, whether you're making a hamburger, okay? So if you're a McDonald's, your hamburger needs to meet a certain standard, whether you are in Seattle or in Miami. So you don't want some kid in Nebraska to say, my mom makes a killer burger, instead of lettuce, she uses kale. So now she shows up every day with a bag of kale and starts to put kale in the McDonald's sandwich instead of lettuce. That is the wrong initiative. But you need to have the process for her to go and print the standard for the burger and to challenge it and to write, I think we need to do this, and be able to submit it for consideration. So yes, you need to build a box of how much initiative you encourage, but you need to let your people go, you know. And so a soldier obeys order, right? But a special forces person is expected to take initiative, to go out into the field and improvise based on conditions in the field. And it takes a long process of training to get to that point.
André, before you go, André, you got 3 minutes. What are the most common questions that CEOs ask you? You know, like, is there something that you find, I don't know, that CEOs ask you that the biggest challenges they have? Because I like the fact that you mentioned mentor. You know, that takes being humble, right? That you don't know everything. And I had a mentor that helped me at the beginning of my business. He was fundamental in me dealing, again, with my fears, anxieties, and also giving me some guidance. So I made less mistakes by having a mentor. So that's one way that I was open to it. So you have to be open to it. And then I was lucky enough to find somebody that wanted to dedicate their time and expertise.
Yeah.
But is there other things that you
know, it's where they challenge me and they say, André, you tell me to be humble, and then you tell me that if it is to be, it is up to me. And the thing is, I built this company because of my vision, my tenacity, and my intransigence. People told me that I would not succeed. I didn't listen to them. People told me I had to do this. I didn't listen. I did it my way. And look where I am. And I'm going like, yes, you don't have to compromise on everything. Okay. And yes, your convictions are super important for your company to have that vision and to go where it needs to be. And you need to tell people, I ask for your opinion, but I make the decision.
The final decision, yeah.
But if you ask for their opinion, then you owe them an explanation on why you took the decision the way you did. Okay. So they struggle with that because they're saying, you know, I can't see myself taking a back seat and becoming humble. And it was my vision, my tenacity, my drive that got me here. And I was like, yeah, but at what point in time you reach a point of no return because you're doing too much, and you end up working in the business instead of for the business. So the more that you start to trust your people, and the more you give them the responsibilities, the more you can look through the windshield and work on tomorrow. So it is a difficult balance. It's a difficult balance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have any last questions, Axel, before, I mean, we still can talk a little bit, but for André, he has to go. Do you have any other question you want to get?
Or Leah, do you have any
Um,
last questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to this might be too big of a question to wrap up in 30 seconds, but maybe not since you speak on it all the time. What would be your biggest token? I mean, we've spoken about humility and being curious and all this, and we've touched a little bit about you going blind for, in 2 weeks. I mean, that could have taken you out. That could have destroyed your businesses, your relationships, and everything. So what would be your key advice, to somebody? I mean, you didn't expect that, and yet you're still successful. You have a great mindset. So what would be the takeaway?
I'm going to summarize it in one sentence. And that is that change is inevitable, but personal growth is optional. We have a choice. We're going to be challenged all the time in our careers. We're going to be challenged by COVID. We're going to be challenged by divorce. We're going to be challenged by competition. We're going to be challenged by economic pressures. Okay. And changes are happening. But do we choose to grow from those changes, or do we choose to swirl down and down into a cesspool of toxic emotions and just feel also sorry for ourselves and never emerge? I'm oversimplifying, but.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, André. Such a pleasure to meet you.
Well, pleasure's mine. And Axel, how about you?
I don't have any questions at the time, but I will have 100 questions in like 10 minutes once you get off the call, I'm sure.
Well,
but I can bug Mariano about it all day.
Yeah.
But call me. I'd love to chat with you and whatever. So if I can be a resource to you, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, it's only $900 an hour, so.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's within our small business budget, so perfect.
Okay. All right, wish you guys success, and thanks for including me in this.
André, thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Bye, Leah.
Yeah,
bye, Axel.
We'll be in
Bye.
touch. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, Axel, so this podcast touches not just on they're business podcasts and talk about business and planning and cash flow and stuff, but our podcast is more spontaneous, and it can talk about a whole bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the guest. Like André, that's his focus. He's a speaker for CEOs, and he travels around the country. And it was great for Leah and for you, and because now I'm starting a new business, FTW, this podcast, and in the entertainment and show business. So even though I can use my experience with running my previous business, it's still challenging. Like, I don't really know where the revenue stream is going to come in. I'm just kind of following things that I enjoy doing and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit in the same boat, but I don't have the cash flow pressure that I used to. So I know exactly how you feel. It's like choking. But and I know you're very busy. So, and you tell me a little bit about your podcast. Like, I can learn from you actually, because we're just starting this podcast. Did you do also video interviews and video sessions?
Well, so this was all pre-COVID, right? So we would do in-person interviews, and we'd record and film and then release it on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all over. And the idea came from, I listened to a lot of Guy Raz, the NPR podcast, How I Built This. And then there's another food podcast called In the Sauce. I was listening to those a lot, and I was like, these are awesome because I'm learning a lot. Man, like, I bet if I reach out to any CEO from any company, of course they're going to be willing to talk about their company and themselves on a podcast for an hour, because who doesn't like, I feel like a lot of founders, like, it's not a brag thing, but it's a humble thing to like be proud of what you've created and talk about it. So I was thinking, like, man, I can pick these people's brains. I'm well connected in the CPG community, so I could get a contact of a contact and have the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company sit with me for an hour. And I was like, I can learn a whole lot from my own business from this. So it wasn't selfishness, but it was like, I can sit these people down. We can talk about things we love. And I remember I didn't have any money for this, but I talked to this accelerator group in Austin, and I was like, why don't you guys fund this for me? And I'll organize everything. I'll host everything. We can have this person. But like, that sounds awesome. We don't do that, but talk to this guy named Dan who has a media company. So I reached out to him, and he was like, that sounds like an awesome show. Let's fund it. So they funded the whole thing.
Wow.
Which gave me a reason to like drive up to Austin, secure these interviews with these CEOs. And we did it in this, what's it called? A co-working space. So our studio was this really new age container with state-of-the-art equipment, soundproof room, all that stuff.
Wow. So you had CEOs go to you? They had to drive over to your place. And how did you find the CEO? How did you contact them? How did you reach them?
So I was a member of this accelerator group in Austin called SKU, SKU. So there's like Deep Eddy Vodka. We all know they sold for, God, what was it? Whatever, $5 billion. And we all knew this guy, Clayton Christopher. He was like the legend, one of the first CPG fathers, I want to say, in the Austin community. And he was one of the mentors for this program. And I had just had the managing director of the program on the show, who's also an angel investor. And I was like, hey, can you connect me with Chris? And he was the only one. We had to go to him out of the 13 episodes we did. He was the only one where we had to go to him because he had such a tight schedule. And so we like last minute went to his office, set up shop.
With the cameras and stuff?
Oh, yeah. And that was
question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So how, not always, but oftentimes, I was a college student once, and I know like the habits and patterns of most college students are not focused on it. I mean, it could be great if you're focused on business, but most people aren't. And so how did you create habits and patterns, or was it always inside of you that you're like, I want to create something bigger? I'm not going to go into, if I go into not that I'll never hang out with friends, but if I'm just focused on my agenda of parties, which is what a lot of college and, mid 20s is about, right? Just is the social, like go out, get, was that just never in your DNA, or did you just always have a better balance, like from family teaching you, or how did this come about where you understood how to and your habits?
So I was saying about this morning when we were having breakfast, because I think Mariano and my uncle asked me the same thing, and I haven't really dug in. I do think it's a personality type, like, I choose to put myself in situations where I suffer, because being the founder of something is like an endless thing of like, there's a fire here, there's a fire here. So like, there's that mentality of like, I need to be in a high intense situation all the time. I never missed any parties, by the way. I got to go to all of them. So the balance was there. In college was fairly easy for me, but I remember on the flight here, actually, I was thinking, I was so ready to like do work that produced reward and not like, do a project to get an A. I was like, I'd rather like put that energy and get money out of it or get connections out of it. I wanted like real reward. So there's that. The other thing, one thing to note, like in my family, most of the men in my family have started their own business. From generationally speaking. So I feel like that somehow affected me, but it's not like it's not like every Sunday we sat down and talked business. That's the last thing we spoke about. I think like being the founder of something is more of a lifestyle when it comes to me, at least, than like, oh, I really like business, I like numbers, I like turning profit. It's like, what kind of business fits best with my lifestyle? Oh, it's entrepreneurism. Okay, let's go with that. But again, that's not for everybody, right? Like, some people are way better, like, tell me what to do, I'm going to do accounting, no one talk to me for 8 hours and I'll come up with a kick-ass balance sheet, and that's great, that's for them. But I think with my lifestyle and the way my brain works, this naturally it fell to this. The balance, I mean, there has to be balance and everything. And we also spoke about this morning, we were talking about excess, too much of something can be bad, so like balancing that out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was talking, sorry, Axel, I was talking about with Leah, in one of our recordings or acting class, you mentioned too much of anything is not good. And then I said, well, what about, so yeah, you mentioned like a food, your favorite food. And Axel, that's a great question for Axel, because I don't really care that much about food. I used to, but I don't care that much anymore. But for him, it's like his life, and their family, which is great, because then when I go visit them, you get the best meals. If I had to cook, everybody's screwed. I'm just going to do some spaghetti or something. So it's great that he has that passion and the skill set and talent. But even like, imagine eating your favorite. What is your favorite plate, by the way, Axel?
It's an asado, so meat, vegetables, salads, other proteins.
So
eating that every day, like, no, it would be too much, of course. Even though I was joking around this morning, I was trying to think of something, too much of something. Like, is it, could it be too much? And I think, yeah, even like loving someone in excess could be bad.
That's what we were talking
eating this. Yeah, and that, it sounds bad, right? Like, I hesitate saying that, but
no,
like, being too vulnerable, like, what, going off your conversation, being too vulnerable all the time, that is bad. Being too compassionate all the time, like, if your mode is always to be compassionate to your employees or to your family, that's not a good thing, in my opinion. And I'm a huge proponent of compassion and a huge proponent of vulnerability, but you can't, like, too much of one thing is bad, because then you're just, oh my God, somebody told me something the other day. An overplayed skill is a disadvantage.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
so
good.
If you're like,
well, because a lot of times your flaws are your advantage. So the flip side of that, or like the thing that you think is like your disability, because what did André say at the beginning of the call? I forget, but he kind of made a joke about like, oh, being able to do this is my disability. But I think sometimes that's how we create the best stuff. And because when something is overdone, let me ask you this. How did you go from farmers markets, which is great? I mean, there's nothing wrong with farmers markets. That takes a lot of tenacity to get in there, and I know how that stuff works too. And that's not always easy to get into a farmer's market. But how did you go from a farmer's market to Whole Foods and 400 stores? And what was the time trajectory on that?
So the farmers markets, you research where they are in town, what the rules are. And I was making, like, I think it was like 40 jars for a weekend, for like Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I was doing that. And then I was part of this program here in Texas, that's put on by the agriculture department. It's called Go Texan, and it's like everyone in Texas is very proud about being Texan. And if you make your products in Texas, everyone wants to buy it because they're Texan. Texas. Everything's about Texas. So I was part of that program, and they had a discount for a show. There's a chain here that has 12 stores called Central Market, which is like the Whole Foods of Texas. and it's owned by HEB, which is the largest privately held grocery store in the country. They have 400 something stores, and they're like, people are fanatical about them. But anyways, Go Texan invited me to the Central Market Showcase, where they bring 400 vendors, and all the employees are there, all the board is there, and everyone makes a list, and they have their top 5. And those top 5 get like automatic placements to the stores. So I was one of those top 5. And I was looking at pictures the other day. I think I was 23 at the time, and I had brought my girlfriend at the time and another friend, and just being that young in that setting, and just having like watching people's face light up when they try this. And everyone there was a foodie, so they all knew what it was. So it was awesome. And then, so between the day I started to that day, I think it was like 5 months. So I got,
wow. That's amazing.
there's a lot of hard, there's a lot of hard work, but I think like the harder you work, the more luck you have. So I also like, there was a lot of luck there too, because I was like, I'm gonna go. Yeah.
It is luck, but it also sounds to me, God, I'm sorry, I keep bumping the laptop. It sounds to me like you found your audience too. Because like if you were trying to sell that to people who like McDonald's every day, they're like, I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like McDonald's is my like amazing food or whatever. You know, like you find your audience, and once you find that, I think it can click in really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, finding your target audience, and it's different when it's B2B and B2C, right? And again, I was fortunate enough, it wasn't like Kroger invited me to a showcase where they have value products and, the cheapest sauce is on the shelf because that's the demographic they're serving. My jar is like $12 for a 9-ounce jar. It's not a lot. So I had to find those people. And of course they're willing to spend a ton of money on small products, but yeah, it was.
Were you making everything yourself at that time still?
Yeah. At that time I was still making everything at my parents' house, and it was like, there's a law called the Texas Cottage Law where you're allowed to make stuff in your home, and if you sell it, you can't sell more than $50,000 a year. So I was good, but they were like, if you sell to us, you need to be in a certified facility. And I was already in conversations with what we call co-packers, which are our manufacturers. So by the time they were like, we want you, do you have a co-packer? I was like, yes, I do. And she started making it. And that all, like, we had disasters with her. Had to throw away thousands of dollars worth of product. It was, I have never done it. So I've never mass produced sauce. So I was learning as I was getting into stores.
But before that, you did at home with jars and your chimichurri and like just jars and jars and jars. Oh my God.
Well, quality control was at its highest back then.
And you were putting labels on and everything?
Yes, by hand. Oh my God. I was putting labels on by hand. Yeah. And I remember they're like on a Tuesday in the middle of the week, my house would just smell like garlic. So much. Oh God.
There's a common theme here, because I went through that, but doing others, I-20s like visas and billing and collection and credit card and all this stuff, and I was doing everything. Leah now, she's really grown her business. She's getting people requesting her from all over the place. And she's built a reputation. And then we run into this thing where I see there's common issues in terms of how do you scale, like how do you go to the next level? And it's, for me, and I wish André was here, but I think he would agree that it's starting to delegate, where you find out where are the areas that you have bottlenecks, that it's not like you said, answering a fax or a phone and doing an invoice or whatever, right? But what areas you have that another person can do, and that would free your time to do what you're best at, whether it's getting more customers or investors, that type of thing. And then you monetize that, in the case of Leah, we talked about it, like now it's, for her, it's administrative and handling emails and sending invoices and collection, and she's doing that, but then she can be more creative. So there's that with Leah. With you, I don't know, where would you say, like if you had an extra $10,000, $10,000 a month, where would you put that so you can grow faster?
Yeah, so let me pull out my use of funds pitch deck sheet that I've been working on. No, and it's funny, the last 3 conversations I had with potential investors, they all like want me to be more specific with my use of funds. So like, okay, if we give you the 750K that you want, how to use it? And I'm like, I know exactly how to use it. It's all in here. And then my slide is a very basic slide. And they're like, no, we believe you, but just give us some more. So then when we share it with friends, they'll understand, or so they can explain it better. But, and I've, I hear a lot of this from people who've done this for more years than I have, but they're saying the same thing you're saying, like, how do you delegate and what are you delegating? So I think I have the answers. I just need to like execute on them, right? So I have my new Amazon guy who can do Amazon, Google, and website conversions for online sales. He costs $2,500 a month, for example. And we can't afford that at the moment. So I worked out a deal and we're doing some testing. But as soon as he's like, all right, tests all look good, $2,500, we need to be at a certain level of revenue to be paying for that, right? So that's why with these investments, we can just accelerate that whole process. But I think that's what you guys mean when you mean like delegate, because I can learn how to do Amazon stuff, but that's not where my like skill set is, right? I need to be doing new products. I need to be doing creating content for all of the people that are buying jars every day. And that's what my customers are telling me that they want. So we sent out like 200 surveys a month ago. And the 2 things that stood out is that people want more products and people want more access to it online, and people want more like content, like remind us that you exist and give us recipes to use. Because we have all these Argentine products, and yeah, we'll use it on our ribeyes, on our burgers, on salads, but how do you use it? Because your food looks more interesting than ours. So that's what they want.
Well,
so that's kind of what I want to.
You're so likable, and you do have such a great like on camera personality and also radio, because your voice is fantastic. What about circling back to doing some of that podcast stuff?
And again, like I would love to do that. And I hate saying that. I hate saying I don't have time, because we all have 24 hours in a day. But this morning, for example, I had to respond to 3. I took maybe 25 minutes responding to 3 Amazon customers whose jars broke in transit. And like, I'm not above that work. I don't think I am, but I could have like had a product idea that I could have reached out to suppliers about and done that instead, for example. But someone has to respond to these people.
Well, it's interesting what you just said, because I've used that language too. This table's terrible. I'm sorry. I've used that language before too. Like, I'm not above it. So when I had my brick and mortar, because now I'm totally online, but when I had my brick and mortar, I was like cleaning the toilet and stuff, because I was like, well, I'm not above it, but it's like, how much is it costing me to clean that toilet? And how much is it pulling me away from the people who need me? So it's not about like being like a better than, or like, like, oh, I need to do that. I can do it. I know how to do it. But is that really how you are of highest service to your company and to, your customers?
Yeah. And like André said, I don't think I'm being or as you said as well, I'm not being a higher service to my company by doing this. I need to be doing other like harder tasks that I'm better at. What do you sell, by the way? I don't think I caught that.
Well, I have an acting studio and theater. So what's happened is I do a lot of private coaching geared towards actors, but what has happened is that it's branched out into a much bigger spectrum, because what I do can help you in any area. It's not really specific to acting, although it's designed for actors. So my sessions now are, group sessions and private coaching sessions all online.
Okay.
So my
Nice.
business in a sense has changed a lot because I was a brick and mortar, we were doing productions. And so now even though I've been in business 9 years, it's like a new business because I'm learning the technical aspects and now reaching a broader market and all these things. And so I thought it was going to become simpler. I was like, it's going to be so much simpler because I'm not cleaning the toilets at the studio. I mean, I did hire a cleaning crew, guys. I did have a cleaning crew, but you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'm going to work from home. It'll be much easier. But the administration as I'm growing is getting bigger. And so I'm in that same bottleneck thing as you, where I'm like, well, yeah, I would love to hire. It's that catch-22 position where it's like, I can feel the pressure of it's got to burst to the next level because it's not working. Because I do the same thing. I'm emailing somebody. Meanwhile, an inquiry really wants me and I can't get back to them. It's like business coming in and I'm like, no, I have to deal with this fire over here. Or
that's so funny.
Car broke down or something. I'm like,
as I was responding to these Amazon peoples, I also, in those same 25 minutes, sent out 2 invoices. So that takes some talent to be doing all these things at the same time.
But it can make you start going crazy. And I
mean,
really,
I'm already crazy. That happened 3 years ago, or that happened when I decided to do this.
I always thought it was easier to work for myself, and then I'm like, my boss is a bitch.
Do you miss your brick and mortar, your location, physical location?
I do sometimes, because there's nothing's gonna replace being in person with people. But then also in scaling, I'm like, I don't miss it because it's I can be of better service this way. I can reach more people this way. But I miss it. I have to stand up sometimes because I'm very active. I'm a very animated person.
On that note, Leah, just something to think about. You can do a hybrid because you can have the best of both worlds. You can do the mortar thing, manage how much of it, and still have that contact with your actors and students because it's a beautiful thing. But then you record it, and now you're not just in this Denver little market. You're doing that and you're recording, and then it goes and it can go throughout the world if you have something that's
in a digital class.
So that's something that at some point we can look at because we have contact. Well, I have some contact with some theater owners, and I'd love to do something like that. Now, going back with what you guys are saying, because I've been through that, but I can share my story that how my mindset evolved, and part of it was going to the CEO, which I paid, $1,400 a month. It was very expensive to go and meet with these other CEOs and learn from them, right? Some of them were micromanagers, they couldn't delegate, and it was all about them, and they wanted to do everything. And then there were some other guys who were traveling, I have one of my best friends, he has a private plane, a private yacht, one of the biggest yachts everywhere. And he works.
Biggest yacht in the world.
No, it's definitely not that level, but it is one of those, wherever we go, he's got the biggest yacht. We go to Cancun, we go to whatever we go, it's usually the big, and even in San Diego and stuff. So the point is, what I admire about him is that he has a 3-day week that he works. He works Tuesday through Thursdays. He has Mondays off and Fridays off. And every weekend he's going with his private plane somewhere. So, and he's, has hotels and offices and stuff, but he has a team. I know you guys probably hear it. Oh yeah, team. Okay. You're sick and tired.
Yeah, I want a team. I know.
Team. I know.
That you start with one person where they can help you, because at least that's how I did it, right? And usually I hire somebody that's better than me in a critical area that I actually hate to do. For example, bookkeeping, billing and bookkeeping. And I hired, when I started, when I had one classroom and 3 students, and my first year was like $50,000 revenue a year. It was nothing, I was losing money. But I did believe in hiring people, and I would not have enough income to hire that person. But once that you hire that person, like, don't think, yes, you have to manage it a little bit, but that person is going to generate the income to pay for that. Like, don't.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I can understand, Axel, you mentioned 2,500, but if you have that you put 2,500 on this guy who's going to improve your sales and marketing, which you need, but first, before that, you're going to have problems with jars breaking and sending an invoice and stuff, and you're going to get more revenue, more sales, but you're going to have more problems with this. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm saying about you, because I would maybe analyze it more, but I feel like same thing with Leah, that you need to find an administrator, just like I found a bookkeeper that would do the invoices and get the credit card and pass the credit card and check which students were past due and stuff. I don't do that anymore. It's been years since I do that. But I do check on the metric level, like, hey, our accounts receivable is getting a little bit behind, and then I have people dealing with that. So I mean, you guys have that same things, different products, different stuff, but you are growing. I mean, the best thing about you guys, whether it's Leah with her services and you with your product, is that you have a proven thing. Some people just, nobody wants their product or their service. You guys definitely have it, but now you're being tied down with the administrative side. So I would help you out, Axel, and I feel I'm helping out Leah, that find an administrative person that you have to have a job description, which I don't know, Axel, if you probably studied all that.
I've realized that helped me figure out or put into words what I need. I was writing job descriptions for people I would want in my organization. And I'm like, yeah, all this stuff I don't want to do, all this stuff needs to get done, all this stuff I'm not good at, categorized it by position. And then I took a step back and I was like, okay, now I know what team I need.
Yeah, that's excellent. And you even went a step further, because find out the first one. Just start, because sometimes we look, oh, I need 10 people or 5 people. Yeah, you will need those people. And you had that foresight and vision. But right now you need one person that will take something that is taking out of your time, and there's no value, there's no creativity. It's like an accountant or bookkeeper, but I feel like that's where you start. And if it costs you an extra 2,500, 3,000, whatever it is, that's going to free up, and it's going to generate more sales naturally, organically.
Yeah. And
now,
another,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say another rule I've given myself, which has kind of like made me hesitant about like an accountant, for example, though I do have one on call or whatever, but it's every dollar I spend needs to generate more than that dollar. So for example, my marketing guy for Amazon, yeah, I pay him $2,500, but he'll bring in 15K. I was just paying someone to grow my Instagram account, and the scale was I was going to have to pay him $1,500, and he was bringing in, engaged followers, all this like good stuff, but it wasn't converting into sales. So I had to let him go, because I was like, you're doing something I need that is very useful, but I can't burn through that cash for this, especially since we're not converting any of these people into customers, which sucks. But once I get the funding, I'll reactivate that, because it's a total necessity. But it's like, this dollar isn't making me another dollar, so I can't spend that.
And there's okay, I understand what you said, and there's definitely something you have to look at as the business owner. but sometimes I've run into this, and it may sound crazy, but sometimes you have too much money and you start burning it. You start blowing it in the most, because, oh, you have money. So sometimes it's good to have a really tight cash flow, because you're more sensitive to where that money and where that return is going. And you're not just throwing it all over the place, which is a little bit what I'm doing now, by the way. I gotta, I don't know, I don't have a cash flow issue, but I realize I may have spent money in some things. For example, I spent $1,000 or something in an app, and I did that like a month ago, and I didn't do anything with it because I just put $1,000 here. And then I spent money on this producer group that had a 6-week course, and that cost $4,800. $4,800 gone, and I only did like 2 weeks of that course. I didn't finish it through, which probably is seeing a pattern here in terms of memorizing lines and stuff. So be careful that sometimes investors know this, especially in terms of business owners, that you give somebody too much money and they're just, it can be spent in the wrong places. So
Yeah.
the balance of having enough to grow, but also you generating your own growth and reinvesting in the business. So regarding, like, I know you probably hear a lot of advice. You probably hear, like, you just sick and tired of everybody tell you what you need to do when you, especially with your uncles and your dad, because your dad also is a very successful architect, and so I would just try to be more practical about it in terms of go dissect it, because sometimes you may overanalyze things by thinking of all these people you're going to hire in the job descriptions. Just which person you would need to hire first, that not necessarily to generate more sales, but to give you more time to do the things that you love to do, that bring more value to the organization. So that's something to think about. And I'm not in a position, like, I definitely feel like I'm excited for you. You're doing something you love to do, which already puts you in a totally a privileged position that you've created yourself. And now you got to keep growing that, so you can scale it. Then you can go on vacation to Italy and buy your island in Italy.
Right.
So
He's
that's
your
his dream.
brother's son. You're his brother's son or wife?
My sister, my older sister. Yeah.
Oh, older sister. Very good. And you're in Texas?
I'm currently in Colorado, but yes, I'm in Houston, Texas.
He's in the other room.
Oh, really?
He's in my house.
He's at your house right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. He just arrived like at 1:30 in the morning. And I go, hey, Axel, why don't you, we had breakfast and we started to talk, because, like in my screenplay, my movie, Marcos is sick and tired of having breakfast with me. And I'm talking about, hey, what do you think about racism, politics, and business and stuff? Like, can we just talk about the weather?
Can we just have coffee and chill out for a minute, please?
Yeah, so he wakes up and we're, okay, so what about your business? And what about love? And what about, oh shit.
That is so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So, oh, but Marcos isn't there. So he's not there to hang out right now.
No, Marcos is in Pennsylvania, but my other cousin, Mariano's other sister, her kid is here, but we hang out with everybody. And a lot of my friends live here. We're going to ski tomorrow, and I have more friends who I studied. In fact, some of my friends who I studied in Prague with are in Vail right now, so I'm going to meet them there. I haven't seen them in like 8 years.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be here.
I love Vail. That's great. That'll be great.
Yeah, I think so.
It's nice that we're able to do this spontaneously. And, sometimes people are in different stages in their life, right? Like for me, at one point, I just wanted to keep growing my business, my language school business, and more centers and stuff. And now we're actually saving it, and it's starting to grow again. But it almost went bankrupt the last 2 years. And I had to restructure and lay off people. That's the worst feeling, laying off and firing people, because they loved LCI and they were really good, but it just, the revenues were not there and we had to let them go. But because of the restructuring and being very, very small, we were able to survive, and then we get the PPP loans. But now we're starting to hire again. And now I have to change my mindset of just survival mode to now start a growth mode. And we found what just inspires me and makes me able to spend time on the creative side and even trying a new business is that the people we have love what they're doing, and they're what was the word, Andre? Inspired? You're not inspired, right? Like did he say inspired, right? Like hire people that.
Oh yeah, it was
no, initiative.
initiative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sent you an email. I know it was a long email, but this person that used to work full-time at LCI and then she works part-time, she took the initiative to hire the new person, and she wrote this long email with a lot of good ideas. And I go, wow, this person just took initiative, and that helps the new member to do better her job in training and stuff. So that word initiative is huge. When you hire somebody, whether it's this, you decide. With Leah, we analyzed it. We spent some time saying, well, she needs somebody in billing and collections. She needs somebody to answer customer leads and maybe set up other stuff, right? So that's a mini job description that we came up with that would liberate maybe 20% of her time. So you can analyze it and actually in percentages, how many hours, Axel, are you dedicating to stuff that you feel is you can delegate, and that will liberate time for you to get more accounts and to do marketing and maybe podcasts, because now you have a really great personality, you're comfortable in the camera, you have a great voice, and I love your videos. I see they're starting to get more views, and people will connect with you based on your personality, which is Axel Provisions. So,
Well, they
yeah,
like the story, right? I mean, it's like I already want to buy it because I know you and I know the story, and so now it's more intriguing to me, and it's of higher value to me. Like I spend $20 a pop on maple syrup because it's real maple syrup, right? Like instead of the corn syrup or whatever. And like, it's crazy. Like some people are like, you're nuts. Why would you buy that? That's $20 as opposed to $2. But it's because I know the story. I know that maple is like good for you. Corn syrup doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. Well, as the way human brains work, when we are able to connect with someone's brain via a story or, learn about their culture via a story, we can then identify something they have within us. And as you're saying now, like, oh, just, being on the phone with you for an hour makes me want to purchase product. That's basically been my strategy since day one. Like, I want to share what's in here with the customers. And if you like it, you like it. And then you want to be a part of it. I think our motto is like, join the family, right? So and I wrote a blog post about this, I think, about how like, consumers want to connect with something and identify with something so then they can talk about it. Because like you can buy Heinz ketchup and you buy it all the time and you have it in the fridge, but you have zero connection to that. You just buy it because that's what you've been buying forever. There's nothing new. But when you really find a brand or a person that you really like a normal relationship, when you start getting closer and closer to someone, you're learning more about them, and you can identify stuff they have that you have. And when you build that connection, then it's like a two-way street, right? You take stuff, you give stuff, you take stuff, you give stuff. So that's kind of what I try to build with customers through the brand.
Well, I think that's great. And I don't think that, I mean, I do believe everyone has authenticity in them and gifts and all these things, but not everybody has public speaking gifts. Let's be honest. Not everybody has the ability to be like charismatic and stuff. And you do. So not everyone has that advantage of like being the face of a product as well. Like, you know, maybe they don't, they're like, I don't want to be, that's actually going to hurt me rather than help the product. I think in your case, it actually helps the product. I mean, I would even buy it as like a gift. Like, you know what I mean? Because now I know the story and I'm like, oh, and I'll say, oh, Mariano, and we had, and it means something to me, you know? So it's like, I think that your sales, I feel like that's just my own instinct, I think would skyrocket just by you doing that stuff all the time. Like you creating recipes and just doing that, you know, because you are so personable and fun and like you light up with it.
Yeah, that's
like me who doesn't know anything, like, you know, to do like little, I don't know, I'll have to look at your channel or what you were doing, but like, yeah, you said like recipes and stuff. I'd be so interested in that, you know, because and I'm not like a big cook, but when somebody makes it really simple for me, oh, I'm like, oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And by the way, Axel, I've been doing some research on what's the name of this girl? What's the name of the girl? The Wing Girl. I don't know if you know about Wing Girl.
I've been asking guys about her. There's some guys I know that know this Wing Girl. It's making me nervous.
Who?
It's Wing Girl has millions of views and thousands of followers. And she teaches
Girl?
Wing Girl. Yeah.
Not like chicken wing, like wing, like, you know, in the cockpit with you.
Yeah. And she gives advice. She gives advice on how to talk to women. You know, if you're attracted to women, how do you approach a woman and stuff like that? Well, and then, you know, the number one thing that hot women say, this is maybe BS, but that's what they say, that they want a guy to be confident. So that's one. But another one there in the top 5 or 10 is if they cook for them. Like, oh my God, if a guy cooks for me, it's like, whoa. So you got already.
Well, so one note. So I the last blog post I sent out is about cooking with your partner, because that, like, you connect with them, you're doing something vulnerable together. And one of the paragraphs talks about, I was like basically speaking out loud, but I'm like, everybody pull out your dating apps on your phone. and I said like 9 out of 10 of the profiles I read have something to do with like, let's cook together, or I love someone who can cook, or I love to cook. And growing up, my father always told me like, oh yeah, women love a man who cook. And you know, as a 7-year-old, you don't know what that means, but now you do.
It's true. I dated a chef once. I should have never stopped.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
No, but you know, we just realized that would be a great angle. Like, there's these guys paying. I mean, I don't need that, right? But these guys were paying a lot of money on these modules on how to talk to a girl, how to be interesting for a girl or a woman, and then how to keep them interested. And you might say, well, you know, if you want to get your woman, buy this chimichurri. You know, if you want to put the chimichurri, like, and this really hot woman say, oh my God, I love this guy. He's got the best sauces and stuff. And
yeah,
I mean, there'll be people, and there might be some truth. There is some truth to that, right? Like, if you take the time to do something special for another person, for a man or a woman, and doing it through cooking, through food, that is a sign of love for sure. Right?
Well, 100%. I mean, think of it at the most basic level. Food gives us life. Food helps us like continue living tomorrow, the next day. When you give that to somebody, like, you're activating all these primal like instincts in the person. Imagine imagine a woman feeding a young man. We grow up with our mothers feeding us. Like, the psychology behind that goes very, very deep. So when you feed somebody, it's not like buying someone a rose, which is also romantic. It's not like buying, your girlfriend or your boyfriend a new car, also romantic. But when you feed somebody, you're literally, this is my knowledge, I'm making something with my hands and I'm giving you life. Like, there's nothing more passionate and like raw than that.
And okay, yeah, you can go that deep, but even it's just no, but you can go even, like, I noticed it's the little things that, in my case, I'm interested with my wife, of course, and women, that what I see from that perspective, but it doesn't have to be what women want, it's also what men want. So a man would, if a woman prepares a nice meal and puts some Axel Chimichurri on it, he's going to appreciate that. And if it's a woman, she's going to like say, oh, he added this special sauce for me, and now it's a unique experience. It tastes better. That little thing shows that he's willing to buy your product, put it in the meal, prepare something.
Yeah.
And it's, so we don't even have to go to that, primal
Yeah,
analysis.
exactly. You don't, but as you're saying, you're right. Those gestures are super nice.
Yeah.
You guys are
So we have this conversation.
The Latin in us just starts coming out.
Okay?
Yeah. So and I started cooking barbecues here. I didn't cook in Argentina because everybody is an amazing barbecue. That's a tradition. That's our part of our culture, and we're very well known for that. And so I would just go to everybody's house and somebody would do the barbecue. But here in Denver, there were very few Argentinians, so I had to learn how to barbecue. And
just a hamburger. We just barbecue.
No, I can barbecue. Americans appreciate, and they make a side joke on that. The women, American women, they would say, "We love Mariano sausage," and I love that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Alex, so how do you put up with this guy? You're related.
Yeah. I had to learn it from somebody, right?
It's embarrassing for them, for sure. But okay, so we were talking about the business side, but there's one thing I'm learning in this industry, Axel. You already learned a lot with your podcast and all this stuff you're researching. Is the pitch, which you have a good pitch, both the delivery of it and your confidence and your voice and stuff. So I'm learning about the pitch, and then but being authentic. You're also very authentic. You really believe. You believe in this stuff, right? And that's huge. But you mentioned, like, here, you want to show what's here, but it's also what's here in your heart, right? The hard part, they keep talking about this with my producer circle, that whatever you decide to do, if you show that it's coming from the heart and it's well delivered, and you have to be able to have a clear vision and articulate it, and in my case, we have to do a video presentation of it, stuff like that. But it has to come from the heart. It's not, it has to be genuine and authentic. And you also have that. So by associating your product with your family, the culture, and also how I believe it does connect people, friends and romantic relationships, it can connect people, that would be a way for you to express what Axel Provisions is about. It's a combination of those things. And we can say it might get you laid, for example. It will have to get you laid.
What?
That's what I'll tell my investors.
Yeah, it'll get you laid.
Oh, geez.
That's a good.
So hot, it'll get you laid.
Yeah,
The 25K investments will get you laid. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, maybe it's too much. Maybe that's too much. But there is some. Well, what does this wing girl like? That's what she's selling. And again, you can research
Yeah,
her.
I go research her so that I know what the hell these guys are up to. And again,
I just looked her up. I mean, you know, again, just to get to the ape brain, like sex always sells, right? It's a lot of our decisions are based off of sex, and for men and women, like, please come on, like, it's across the board. Everything you look at, any movie that comes out, that has come out almost ever, there's always sex involved in it. So like, you don't have to be blunt about it, you can be very subtle about it, but people make decisions off that all the time because it's ingrained in our biology.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
why, what was your impression off of Wing Girl's page? Like you were going to say something about
Me?
Yeah, was she leading with sex? I got to look at her page.
Well, I'm on her landing page. It says confidentiality, attract women with my no BS dating advice. And what Mariano is saying is like, what essentially what this woman is selling is like how to, you know, get the woman you want, which comes with like a lot of benefits to having a partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is she selling sex? Not directly, but
Selling set. Oh, except she does have a banana going towards her mouth. Okay, got it.
yeah.
She's not overly sexual, like in her thumbnails. I was thinking she was gonna have like, because I watched this podcast earlier before I got on with you guys, and it was a good podcast. And the guest, the girl on, was stunning. I mean, she was gorgeous. But the shot, you know, it was a medium shot, but she was all cleavage. So the whole time I was just like, you know, and I'm not even women. And I was just like, I just stared at her cleavage. I watched the whole podcast. So it worked. But I was just like, damn. It was actually kind of distracting though. It was a bit distracting.
You're such a man, Leah.
yeah.
That's it. More cleavage. That's the key.
Yeah, you want more business?
I'm gonna unbutton one more button here.
But no, I was surprised because she doesn't have, like, her pictures aren't like super whatever. This is a funny thing. See that expression? Or well, change her thumbnail. I just learned this from one of the YouTube things. So now you're going to see me, Mariano, with all these crazy faces because I've been doing that. I've been trying it because they say that works. Like,
yeah.
thumbnail. It's so corny, but it's like, hey man, whatever. So then we'll see Axel in there too.
Yeah. My whole shirt unbuttoned.
Well, actually, Axel has a type of Jesus body.
Jesus body. I have a Jesus cult with my brand, is what I have.
Has anybody tell you you have a Jesus body?
No, but maybe is that why I'm growing out my hair? Now it makes sense.
Well, you see, Jesus is so sexy. He's a sexy women probably fantasize about.
That's why people followed him, because he was attractive, not because he was preaching.
He's always got this little short thing, and he's got all this six-pack, all these muscles, long hair. So I think we may have lost a few viewers with this recording.
We lost them then. This podcast took a deep dive after André left. No,
well, you're finding your cult following, Mariano. When the rawer you are, the realer you are.
No, yeah, but I don't want a cult today. I don't want people, drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm gonna give them Kool-Aid.
That's not what I mean by cult following. I mean like your diehard fans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's better.
Yeah.
But anyway, I assume you have to go, and Lee has to go. But I hope, tell us, you've been in podcasts before, right? I mean, you've been interviewed before, Axel?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah, so what was the vibe of this podcast? You feel it's interesting? You liked?
Yeah.
Any
things,
feedback?
when things are natural,
and the conversation flows, that's awesome. The host usually does like, the host's job is to keep the conversation engaging, right?
I've been on a couple where, and sometimes it can go awry. I mean, yeah, obviously when you don't have a script or questions and they all like pre-done, but I've been on a few podcasts where it was just that specific questions and I had to answer. Oh, it was like cringeworthy to me. Even in me listening to like my aunt, because it was so canned. And it was like, even the interviewer was like, it wouldn't wait for, like for that to lead into something else. It was just, okay, now next question, so it felt very just like, it just didn't.
Yeah, it feels
So
like
you-
it.
So you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't like it. No, today.
Yeah. No, today I enjoyed today's. Yes.
Okay.
The host is always underestimated in a sense of like, you have to control the conversation. You can like, the worst thing is having a lame guest on, and then it's like you having to like have the whole conversation yourself. That's happened before. Or when you have multiple people and one just doesn't shut up and like you have to cut them off.
Yeah.
That's another
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I was trying to measure that, because, and the nice thing is that we have Leah is amazing, right? I think so. So yeah, tell us, do you like the dynamic? Me, Argentinian immigrant, Leah as an American, successful independent woman. Do you like that dynamic?
Mhm.
Or is it different? Do you feel like the energy?
No pressure, Axel. Poor Axel. He's like,
Look.
No, there's zero pressure. So you two host, no, that's awesome. Different dynamics, different sexes. No,
Yeah.
that's really good. And that like relieves some of the pressure from the guest, I imagine.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
good. You feel that. Yeah. Because you had the female, like she's.
he's just imagining it.
Yeah, I didn't feel any pressure from the start, but the other guests might feel less pressure when it's two hosts.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think people feel less pressure with women hosts, not always. Sometimes guys like the man thing, and they like talking with guys.
Mhm.
But that's why we have the masculine, the feminine going on, and I feel like that makes the guest more comfortable. It also makes it more interesting, more spontaneous. Yeah.
But just like when he was saying the thing about our cult following, or whatever, it's like, it actually is true because, you can't please everybody. And I've been researching YouTube like nobody's business lately. And some of these people who have millions of views, I'm like, I don't like it at all. And then others that are like horrible quality, really weird. And I'm just riveted. And I'm like, I love this guy or whatever, and he's got millions of too, but his thing is like not so, but they both have audience, you know what I mean? So it's like who is your audience? Because I think I didn't want to do YouTube for a long time because I couldn't be that like, and here we are, this is Leah Marlene, I'm sitting here with Mariano, good day, how are you today? Like it's not my personality, but for some people it is, you know what I mean?
And it depends what the listeners want as well. And I hate to use this as an example, but like, look at Joe Rogan's podcast, biggest podcast in the world. He essentially started, or he got this whole platform accepted by the audience, the masses of, we're going to do a 3-hour show. I'm not going to write down a single question I have for you. We're just going to go on here and start talking. Most listeners anyone's ever had ever, like, and all they're doing is having conversation, and he'll invite like friends and that, are comedians or wrestlers or whatever. And they'll have 3 hours of conversation and people listen to the whole freaking thing like they're in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting you, like your generation interested, my generation interested, different genders, different political spectrum.
And
like he's getting everybody.
Yeah, and he's an average guy. This guy that hasn't walked on the moon.
Yeah.
This is average Joe.
And he's not even Argentinian.
Exactly.
Like imagine
he doesn't even grill. Like.
Well, authenticity does go for miles though. I mean, because he's authentic, and it's like whether you like him or hate him, he's just It's like, I have a feeling, there's certain people that, when the cameras are off, you're like, that person is going to change into a nightmare or something. It's like, they're like, hi. And you're like, oh, Jesus, that person's terrifying. I feel like Joe Rogan, he'd probably be the exact same that if you met him, you'd be
Probably.
like,
I mean, in a world with all this access to information and constantly being pinged by our phones and like, we don't know what to believe anymore. When we feel someone being authentic, we're like, oh God, this is so calming. And maybe that's why they listen to it for 3 hours, because it's a normal conversation that can get theoretical and people can easily sit there and they don't have to like, is this real? Is this person lying? Why are they smiling so much? Why do they have so much makeup on?
Such a good point.
Yeah.
And also it's like, I'm always like waiting for like, what are they selling me? What are they selling me?
Oh yeah, constantly.
Rogan never sells anybody anything. He's like, you think whatever the hell you want. I'm just gonna ask questions and then we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
That's really a good point. Yeah.
So Axel, thank you so much for this feedback and stuff. Just remember, I don't have any money.
Same.
He's at the best Airbnb right now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
But yeah, I really appreciate you showing up and sharing your story. It's amazing. I mean, you've done so much, and I do want to see how we can help you out. But definitely, hopefully, we can have another you as a guest in the future when maybe we have a few more viewers from 0 to maybe 10. And it was great, like you're exactly the same in camera as you are in real life, and so is Leah, and I hope so. Yeah, it is about being authentic and just sharing stories,
Yeah.
Inspire people.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on such short notice, but it's always fun having these kinds of conversations, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you.
You too. I can't wait to go get your stuff. You're in all the Whole Foods. You're in 400 stores, different.
Yeah,
stores.
but I'm not in the Whole Foods in the Colorado region.
Yeah.
Are you in Colorado?
Sorry?
Are you anywhere in Colorado, or you have to get it online?
Maybe some like small mom and pop stores, but if you can get it online, that'd be better, because we need more reviews and we're shifting towards that.
My jar better not break, dude. My jar better not break, because I'll be emailing you.
Yeah, and I'll be responding. So
well, maybe not. Maybe by then I'll be like, oh damn, you got an administration.
Leah, you've actually tried his chimichurri when we had the barbecue here in the
Oh,
summer.
really? Oh,
that was his, and we ordered it online, so we get everything online.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Axel Provisions. So excellent. Thank you so much. And
Thank you both.
Thank you guys very much.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk to you in the other room soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have fun skiing.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.